Alright, so for those of you just tuning in, it's my birthday, and in honor of my birthday, I'm going to do the usual Age of Empires 2 commentary, 3v3 viewer game as part of my weekly Twitch TV live streams. If you want to get in on this, you can find my live stream schedule by going to my Twitch page, scrolling underneath the video player there, or following me on Facebook and Twitter. In honor of my birthday, we're playing on the map Valley with slightly extra zebras. Where I come from, that's the tradition. So, without further ado, let's jump straight into the game. So I've made a couple celebratory traditional birthday changes, as we all do, at least where I come from in my culture. I have replaced the deer, the nearby ones, with celebratory birthday ostriches, and I have replaced all the deer in the middle with celebratory birthday zebras, who have multiplied a little bit. Zebras are known to do that, and the shorefish are also box turtles. Although I think box turtles are the ones that bite, right? Or are those the ones that make good pets? Regardless. Into the game itself. Ooh, this is gonna be ugly. I should move the camera away, but really I am just drawn to situations like these naturally. How will he escape this disaster? Oh my god, he's going to nail it! His villager lived! The legend! That was about as close as it gets. From an attack frame standpoint, he was like one frame off from losing that villager. But Timo the Swift Scout, almost a Titanic. Almost. But he salvaged it into a flawless, immaculately well-placed boar lure. Oh, some spicy lag too. Is this where it goes out of sync? I'm so jaded at this point, I'm ready for it. Bring it on, HD. Aoe2 HD doesn't care that it's my birthday. Oh my god. Alright, we're restarting the game. Oh! Or we're not. Or we're not. That's a shame, because Timo the Swift Scout had one hell of a save. I'd clip that for YouTube, but no one would care. But that was still a really good save. Welcome to Stream Animals, UK. 33,000 ping. As always, during this video I'll be giving you all my commentary on the player's civilization choices, strategies, and just overall unit picks to help improve their understanding and your understanding of the game. So, let's start off by taking a brief moment to introduce all the players. We have Moonsaro playing as the Grey Franks. Teaming up with him will be The Heat playing as the Blue Magyars. And in addition, we have Timo, the Swift Scout, playing as the Orange Portuguese yet again. You may remember this man from the my infamous Men-at-Arms Madness video on YouTube, which is definitely a blast. Recommend you check that one out. And then in the opposing team, the bottom side of the map, we have Mirko playing as the Yellow Vietnamese, Rustic playing as the Teal Celts, and C Bizzle My Nizzle playing as the Purple Ethiopians. Latiac says disable ad block for the stream personally. Also asked you earlier, I do like your Pokemon videos, especially how you interact with viewers. It's hilarious and excellent content, IMO. Well, thank you, Latiac. A lot of people don't remember this, but there was a time when I did more Pokemon than Age of Empires 2, and I used to do them on an extremely regular basis. I think I would definitely like to go back to that and do a lot of extra Pokemon content. Again, all the extra content that I do is, it's extra, you know, it's in addition to the usual flow of Age of Empires uploads, so it doesn't affect that, and it always warms my heart, Latiac, to see people support that, so thank you. I have a blast playing Pokemon. I think it's really an in-depth, interesting strategy game, and I love the juxtaposition with that because, yeah, most of us grew up with Pokemon, but the single player is nothing like the competitive multiplayer, and the fact that it's one of the most interesting, in-depth, strategic games I've ever played is mind-boggling, considering that when I played it as like a 6-year-old, it certainly didn't feel like it. And likewise, you know, I get a very similar kick out of Age of Empires 2, because when I played this game when I was 6 years old, I was building my houses in a perfect square, making sure that my base looked as realistic as possible, rather than trying to crush my foes. But chances are, if you're watching this video right now, you're looking for tips on how to crush your foes. So, start of the game, this is when we set the economic foundation in the Dark Age for everything else. In order to do that, start with the first 6 or so villagers on sheep, and then you want to build a lumber camp, and usually put about 4 villagers on wood. You see Moonsaro here is getting ready to snag that boar, but of course I go over all of this in my Netrich tutorial, which chances are, if you're watching this, you've probably already seen. What is Valley, though? Because your strategy choice in a lot of games heavily depends on the map you're playing. The gimmick with Valley is that there is a dried-up river in the middle, composed of the sand terrain, of which ships and land units can pass over, and you can build a dock here, but no other buildings. It's also infested with zebras, a problem I'm sure we're all very familiar with on a daily basis. How do you deal with zebras? You mill them. You get map control and you mill them. The mills get double the value too because there are shorefish, or box turtles in this case, which you can also harvest from very efficiently with the villagers. Villagers gather food at different rates from different food sources, so they actually gather very quickly from these shorefish. Lettuce is just hyperbeam everything. That is... If I ever get to... I'll do this at some point, but one of my favorite, off-meta sets in Pokemon is easily like the Choice Specs Hyper Beam on, oh god, that's dangerous that Rustic would do that, but nice save, is the Choice Specs Hyper Beam on Portuguese. That's a lot of damage. It's a lot of damage. Let's see if I missed anyone's messages. Magyars is Resonance's birthday today. As of this recording, it was my birthday yesterday, but we're celebrating it with 2 streams in a row. 2 streams in a row. For those of you who watch this on YouTube, it'll probably be like a month after my birthday, but belated birthday wishes are appreciated, thank you. ADHD asked me, at what point do you start making military units? I always get caught out with hardly any military but Exos Eco. Also welcome to the stream. Goozalambics. Alright, so I'll answer that question. When should you start making military units? I really do feel like I should make like a Google Doc or something like that, which contains all the frequently asked questions, like what's your opinion on AoE3? I think that's something that would help out a lot, and means I don't need to keep answering the same questions. This one I get asked a lot, but it is a good one, and I don't have a specific video dedicated to it. I do go over it a bit in my Night Rush tutorial, just like I go over everything in that one. But the general idea is it's going to depend on a number of things. One, it depends on where your position is in the team. I think that's the primary influencer of that. So if you're on the flank, there are 2 types of players, flanks and pockets. Flank players are ones that are adjacent to an enemy. So team of the Swift Scout or Orange player, he's the flank because Marco is the enemy and he is right across from him. Pocket will be Moon Sorrow. Rustic is a pocket player as well. If you're in the pocket, generally speaking, you wait until the Castle Age to start making military units. If you make military units before that, you're up to something sneaky. Sometimes we do see pocket players go for things like scouts and whatnot. It is not necessarily out of the question, but in a large team game, generally they'll wait till the Castle Age to start making military units, and they'll usually go for knights or something along those lines, like a mobile military unit. In rare cases, maybe Eagle Warriors, but usually it's, or like Cavalry Archers or the Huns, but it's usually, knights, plumed archers, conquistadors, those type of things. There's room for variation, of course, but they start making those military units in the Castle Age. Our flank players will either start making militia in the Dark Age, or they will wait till they get to the Feudal Age and start producing military units then. It is most standard to wait until the Feudal Age to start making military units. If you're on the flank on an open map, which this is, then you need to make military units in the Feudal Age. If you don't, either your opponents are like not playing very well, or you're a madman, or you're doubt. Showcasing that in my Break the Meta series. If it's a one-on-one, you're on the flank. You're adjacent to an enemy, so you probably want to make military units in the Feudal Age. But in order to know whether or not you should do that, you need to know the difference between an open and closed map. Open maps are like this, where it's difficult to wall. A closed map would be a map where you literally start with walls like Arena, or it would be a map like Black Forest where it's easy to wall because it contains narrow choke points. Hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if I did a good job explaining that. Welcome to the stream, Fanto Archer. Thank you for the happy birthday wishes. So yeah. In some cases though, on a closed map like Black Forest, you can even wait to the Imperial Age to make military units. On Arena as well, you could, but again, that's always risky. You want to make sure you're constantly scouting your opponents. Another way to determine when you should make military units is scouting your opponent all the time. If your opponent's starting to make some military units, you either have huge cojones, or you need to make military units too. You better have a plan. That plan is either walls, a defensive castle, or your own army. I didn't comment on this one, but oops, happens to the best of us. Little piece of advice is that always if you're not confident in your ability to lure boar consistently without losing a villager, just get loom. You'll see pro players delay loom because it gives you 1 villager lead, but effectively, so they typically delay it until combat begins, which is usually in the early Feudal Age. Yeah, it's just that if you're not confident in your ability to keep the villager alive, then by all means, just get the loom. It is much better to get loom than it is to lose a villager. But see, Bizzle My Nizzle was a solid war lure, though, off the back of that. Not bad, and the game did not go out of sync, thank God. Sam Video asked what happened to the Break the Meta series. Quality standards. So, I ran out of good Break the Meta replays. I had a stockpile of them, which Decision helped me collect. Much appreciated on his behalf. But yeah, I don't want to milk that series. I have very high quality standards for the content that I do, which is hopefully evident, and a lot of people don't seem to really understand what Break the Meta is about. Break the Meta is not when the Viper trolls and he just You know, he makes... I'm trying to think of a good example, you know. He makes nothing but spearmen the whole game, and he kills some guy with spearmen. And, you know, Break the Meta is not about mass missionaries. It's about situational, unorthodox strategies executed by good players. It's about those fringe, weird cases where doing something bizarre is correct. So it's not trolling. And I think that a lot of people misinterpreted that. If I got a good Break the Meta replay, which are really hard to come by, honestly, the set of replays in Break the Meta spans over a decade, to put that in perspective on how difficult it was and how much research I had to do to prepare for that series. There just haven't been that many good potential Break the Meta videos. But I think that I shouldn't have to call it Break the Meta to showcase some awesome games, and I do that regularly, where we see some crazy strategies, so I shouldn't have to put that in the title just to attract people's attention, I hope. Hopefully it makes sense. Prophecy says if you ungarrison villagers before an entire volley of arrows is fired, and the TC is the amount of arrows reduced? I'm not exactly sure. Prophecy said I would love to see a pro player go for turtle ships on a water map. If I had a good replay of that, I might just do that. There's a difference, though. Again, there has to be like some sort of logical justification for why that is a good idea, and I think that Break the Meta, I'm really happy with the note I ended it on, and it's definitely possible that I revisit it. I have a very small collection of potential candidate replays, but again, I think that everyone should be getting their fair share of crazy strats. Like, also what constitutes Break the Meta is the style of commentary, and for example, I have that Tato Wall Rush video, which for all intents and purposes, I'm just going to put it in the Break the Meta playlist. That's a Break the Meta video. So yeah, the series hasn't ended. I just don't call it Break the Meta. If you haven't seen my Tato Walrus video, hopefully one of my mods can link it in the Twitch chat right now. That's Break the Meta. That is the absolute definition of it. The only reason I didn't put Break the Meta in the title is because it wasn't a post-commentary, it was live. And now, back into the game itself, which is also live. The heat is coming in hot, and Seabizzle my Nizzle going for a very standard Ethiopians Archer Rush build. You always want to get the Feudal Age quickly when you're on the flank on an open map like this, but I think he's in for a rude awakening, because the Magyars, oh, they work out. They got some buffs recently in patch 5.5, and do I have the production quality for this, actually? One moment, let me just alt-tab real fast. Oh, I still do. Oh, it's so sick. Oh, but I gotta make sure I'm not blocking the action. Look at the sick production quality. All your nations are going to good use. You think you're putting food on the table, but you're wrong. Oh, you're wrong. It's going straight into this overlay, which I'm going to take down now because it's blocking the action. God damn. It's like Hollywood in here. Okay, so what's going on with Seabizzle my Nizzle? He needs defensive spearmen, but he done goofed, and it happens to the best of us. Poor Seabizzle my Nizzle, I'm having too much fun saying his name, built his barracks a little bit too far forward. I think his military building should have been much closer to his actual base. The only reason you would ever build these forward is if you plan to play super duper aggressively, but I just don't think that's worth it. So for future reference in your own games, unless you've got balls of steel and you've got a big game plan in mind, just build it closer to your base. Better safe than sorry. And I think the more comfortable you get with the game, the more freedom you have to go for aggressive building placement like this, but when you're still getting used to things, that's not a risk I would recommend taking. Now, he is defending very effectively with spearmen, which do kill scouts in 3 hits, 4 if they have bloodlines. It's just that he's getting a lot of idle time here, so the heat doing some excellent economic damage here. And Seabizzle my Nizzle trying his best to defend. He's going to move out now. This is an interesting decision because I feel like he's going to get mopped up by these scouts, and his archers are isolated. But it looks like blue does not know that purple's archers are moving out, so I don't know, not bringing a spearman forward with this is really, really dangerous, and the heat is going to defend. Oh man, look at the counters here, coming in with the skirmishers. This will be an excellent way to defend against this. Meanwhile, on the right side of the map, we do see a bunch of players milling. Oh, this is so cute. Both milling together over here. It's really important to have that map control, and I think that favors, it makes the Scout Rush strategy heavily favored on a map like Valley, because the middle of the map is so important. It has all that free deer as a way to bolster your early economy. Why does it bolster your economy? It's for 2 reasons. So 1, the deer are free. Farms cost 60 wood each. In early game, that's a big investment in the wood department. It takes a long time to collect that wood. And you have to have all those lumberjacks too. And in addition to that, you actually gather food quicker from deer than you do from farms. So, hopefully makes sense. Hungry Halberdier, welcome to the stream. He says, hello, Residence22. How was your birthday? No Shiki and Neku today? My birthday was great. Thank you so much for asking. And it was great because, in part, because guys like you showed up, so thank you. Originally, I was going to stream The World Ends With You today. That was the plan, but In retrospect, I decided against it. And while I really enjoy The World Ends With You, and it's one of my favorite games of all time, it's become clear to me that it's not just about streaming games I like, but rather there's something else there. What I really enjoyed yesterday, actually, the most, and I think is evident, I really recommend people check this out when I post it on YouTube. I mean, by the time that this video goes to YouTube, I'll have already posted the Kirby stuff, probably, or it'll come in the same week. I was particularly happy with the way my Kirby's Return to Dreamland playthrough went on stream. I felt like my passion for the game really just shone through in my commentary, and I was having a genuinely good time, and it just... I think there was something special in that video that I don't normally feel like I have. I've always been happy with the quality of commentary that I've done. I think there was like a brief period between the Forgotten, you know, at the end of the Forgotten expansion's life cycle and before African Kingdoms was released, where I was like pretty depressed because Aoe2 was in a terrible spot, and we had no idea if it was ever going to get another update again, and that was pretty terrible. But besides that, I've been generally happy with my quality of commentary, and you know, my enthusiasm is totally real. I've always been enjoying myself. But that Kirby thing was something else, man. Like, that was a blast, and I'm trying to figure out exactly what made that so special and so interesting. And people also seemed like they were really engaged by it. I think part of it was that I was actually talking about the game, for starters, and also the game is just really self-explanatory. It was a lot of things. So I may continue The World Ends With You, depending on people's feedback, but it's something I have to think about for sure. It's something I would love to stream, but I want to figure out how I can make that like a better format. And I just like to revisit Pokemon as well. Oh my god, thank you, Dale Andrew Darling, for the $200. Really appreciate it. And for your 36-month resub. It is your 3-year anniversary. You subbed on my birthday 3 years ago. Thank you so much, Dale. Seriously, man. That's really nice of you. And on the left side of the map, the heat is just melting right through Purple's defenses. Now, what's going on here? It's just an experience thing. Blue's clearly been around the block. We've seen his wrinkles. This guy's old as shit. He knows what he's doing. And he's a couple steps ahead in this case. I mean, Purple, what he's doing is completely understandable. He is making archers because it's what's good for the Ethiopians, but he's up against the Magyars, and the Magyars have one of the best scout rushes in the game, and this is a map where it's so open that scouts are super duper favored. So, yeah, and then he got countered by the skirms too, so he just needs some help from his pocket player. And that's going to be Mr. Rustic. But where is our friend, Mr. Rustic? He's in the wrong neighborhood. He's on the other side of the map. Now, this is some spooky ghost shit right here, though, because if he doesn't go on the right side of the map, then does Mirko die? Is Mirko kill? Mirko might be killed if you end up going to help Seabizzle That's a gamble that you're going to have to take. It's fairly even, though. Seabizzle and Teemo are at roughly the same strength, and he's actually miraculously holding the line, and holy shit, the heat. There's your break the meta content. What? Did you see that? Dropping the forward farms. All right, this is, I don't remember the name of the last break the meta episode number, but this is the new one. The forward farms. It's pretty good. Cold says, have to go bye. Bye, chat. Happy birthday. Love the stream. I come back later. I'm really glad to hear that, Cold. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'd love to see you in the future, man. Break the meta's not over, boys. It's here. It's coming in hot. It's coming in with the heat. Sorry for all the puns. I can't help it. His name is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And I can't contain myself. One day, I'm going to be the most annoying dad in the world, and I'm going to have so much pride in that. You have no idea. Here comes the Knights. But he's about to get shafted by these spearmen. It's my birthday. I'm allowed to get away with this. No one's allowed to complain. Here comes the pikeman upgrade, Mirko. Really jamming it in there. Nicely done. Moonsaro losing all those knights. Trying his best to get in there. He is the Franks. Got max defense. He has the +1 attack, which is very helpful when you're dealing with things like pikemen. Quite helpful indeed. And again, I like the knights here even more, because again, map control is essential. You want to control the middle, and it's great to see that people are going for these zebras, because it's a really nice source of food. This is such a fascinating game to me, because Purple was so far behind, and he actually managed to defend. It so turns out that he could stay in the kitchen and not get burned. He got to the Castle Age in time, and the heat only getting to the Castle Age now. And, I have to say that's a big risk. It's a big risk that I try to analyze the decision-making of players all the time, because really what Age of Empires 2 boils down to is becoming familiar enough with analyzing these situations that you can make these tough calls. Like, do you save up that resources instead of defending yourself by spending on military units and go to the Castle Age? It's a big risk. You could just die in the Feudal Age, and then you look like a fool. But purple's no fool. Get into the Castle Age first, allow them to hold the line. Get that free pikeman upgrade instantly. And also with the momentum swing from the 100 food and 100 gold, I mean, the Ethiopians can really leverage that Castle Age technology better than most civilizations can. It's just a nice power spike for them. So, having too much fun today, CMDD. Too much fun. Oh, okay, all right. You know, the Swift Scout really wants the zebras, but this is dangerous, dangerous territory. I mean, if I'm being honest, I think you either have definitive map control, or you just don't go for it, because you're leaving up so many villagers vulnerable to raiding. Are these zebras worth it? Depends how good they taste. Munsaro has to pull back. Rustic desperately trying to defend. Rustic holds on. He endures the attack. Munsaro must pull out. One of the problems, though, is that Rustic, I think, is correctly making knights, but he is the Celts, which means that he does not have good knights. He's missing bloodlines alongside a laundry list of upgrades. I believe they're also missing, like, max-level defense. So they don't really have that much longevity to them. Bloodline's a very essential upgrade. And well, we have a big battle going on here between purple and blue. We'll see if purple can win this battle. So what's it going to come down to? It's going to come down to a couple things. Mostly good control, because both of these players had a fairly well-balanced army, but the focus fire. Oh, see, what you have to do here when you're the guy with the ranged units is you have to focus fire on the low HP knights. It looks like purple is attempting to do that, and he's actually doing a good enough job, and you know what? If there's one thing I've learned from being an adult, is that good enough sometimes is enough, and purple, seriously, is just doing great. He's playing against a player that is clearly very experienced and is just holding the line with just good fundamentals. This guy has been watching my commentary for so long, clearly. It so turns out that, you know, one of the reasons why I go out of my way to explain everything in great detail is that if you understand the fundamentals of the flow of an Age of Empires game, you don't have to play optimally to destroy people, but rather if you just understand the game's mechanics and the various strategies, how to transition between them, and just the general feel of the game, you're gonna start winning some games like purple is. He's got a nice, well-balanced army, for example. He's transitioning to counter units. He read the situation, was like, all right, I can go to the Castle Age. He does have to seriously not attack here, though, and here's how you know why you don't do that, because you look at the score and you're like, oh shit, 3,000 is actually a larger number than 2,500. If your opponent ever has 500 more points than you, please don't move out. It's scary. Don't do that. Oh, welcome to the stream, Michow. Good to see you again. You were super cool yesterday. Thank you for making my birthday extra special. And hello, Stole My Coconut. Good to see ya. So, rule of thumb. 500 points behind? Don't go in. Don't do it. So, Timo is in trouble. He's getting raided by a sick battle elephant by Mirko. How do I feel about this battle elephant? Well, it's definitely good versus these knights, and it's just an interesting, well-balanced army. He's going for the battle elephant rush. Now, I don't think we'll know for a long time until the metagame settles exactly how this matches up, but I can't help but shake the feeling that husbandry is an essential technology for battle elephants, and not having it is terrible, and that's why I really like the Khmer's battle elephants. Now, granted, the poor mobility of his army is not proving to be a decisive factor here. In fact, there's nothing in this town center. He can just go in. He can just go and try. Oh, there's one villager in there now. Timo converted the battle elephant. Nice. That is the correct response. Great play here by Timo. So now Teal wants to mop up this army, but Moonsorrow on the defensive, and meanwhile, on the other side of the map, the Heat going for Seabizzle My Nizzles town centers, trying to do some raiding. But when it comes to attacking in the feudal and castle ages, it's always about avoiding those town center shots, trying to take as little damage as possible. Look for those exterior vulnerable villagers gathering resources like such. Oh my god, that'll be disaster. I'll pan my camera back there in a moment and see if he actually ends up finding that cluster. The elephants have a nice respectable attack bonus versus town centers, and aha, he's located the gold mine. Well, it's a wood mine, but there's also a gold mine here, so that's fine. I love this free pikeman upgrade. I talk about this in my pikeman analysis video, but the free pikeman upgrade is super great because one of the problems with making pikemen as a counter to knights in general is you have to both pay for the upgrade to make them actually good versus knights, and you also have to wait for it to research. So it takes forever, and pikemen offer little offensive presence, if any. But the Ethiopians, since they get it for free, they save a lot of time and money, and life is all about time and money. Mirko, I mean, battle elephants are actually pretty darn good versus knights, but they just get kited, and he's just outnumbered, and he needs pikemen. And let's see, how are we doing in terms of the players' population counts? So Moonsorrow is looking real strong here. I bet he's over 100 at this point. He's getting close. Moonsorrow at 95. Rustic is one of the other highest players. He's at 90. And then we have the Heat at 90 as well. So about every player about at 90. See those on my Nizzle at 67. Oh, good. He's actually not that far behind. Well played, but I fear that Teemo, yeah. Teemo's a little bit on the low side, but he is sustaining villager production from 3 town centers at the same time. Very, very well played. That's exactly what you need to do when you're behind, is to focus on your economy, build that back up. Focus on that rather than your military to try and claw your way back in the game. Teemo asking to give me your extra resources, which is also a great way to get your teammates back in the game. He's even building 4 town centers. This is a fantastic play that I have to point out. Focus on your eco when you're behind. Meanwhile, wow, Rustic with that castle. How do I feel about this? The Flexer. This guy. I don't like this. I mean, I like this on like on a purely fun level, but on a strategic level, I admire this castle. That's what I will say. I admire it, but I'm concerned about it because we're reaching the point. It's about 35 minutes in the game, and people probably on an open map usually get to the Imperial Age around 40 minutes in. So this castle has to be decisive within the next 5 minutes. Otherwise, it's so far forward, it's just going to get killed by trebuchets. Which is, the technical term, bad news bears. Speaking of bad news bears, Purple not garrisoning any of his villagers, getting mopped up by Moonsorrow, going to take out every single villager without any defense, no response from Purple, no garrison. Why? Because he's too busy doing some sick micro over here. Doesn't even know he's dying? Moonsorrow says killing Purple, and he's right. Oh my god! He needs to pay attention. Oh, this happens to the best of us, but that's why the attack notification noise is so obnoxious in Age of Empires 2, because how can you miss that? He is missing the whole thing. Oh, this is one of the biggest Titanics I've seen in a while. He's trying to micro like a god, and he probably is. I gotta give him credit where credit's due, but dude! Oh no! What's his pop at? That's a 38! It's GG! Happy birthday! No town bell! Don't ring the town bell though, actually. You want to drag a box around your villagers and garrison them in the town center. Otherwise, too much idle time. How many villagers does he have left? Yeah, it must be like 10. I'm really scared to flip this. Okay, 39 pop. 11. Oh my god, he's at 20. It's over. It's over, my friends. If M's still here, it's over. It's over. Disaster. Purple says I'm screwed. No, he's screw-weed. 99% screw, 1% weed. By the gods. My friend, you done goofed. You done fucked up, and you're dead. Ah, it sucks. He was playing so well. So well. And for every mistake that I point out, I always have to try and point out the plays that the players make that are also good. I think it's important. Purple, I want you to know, you played a really great game until you didn't notice you were getting knighted by Gray. That sucks. It happens to the best of us. I have seen it happen to many, many good players. And you know what else sucks? How swole this fellow is. He's in the Imperial Age. I mean, so is Rustic. I mean, to be fair, this game would have been close, but this man has no villagers left. He actually just died. It's not often that you just die, but he just died. Now, Team of the Swiss Scout, though. Maybe he's not over yet. Why is it not over yet? Because this guy, ever since the Men-at-Arms Madness video, he knows what's up. He's building up. He's building villagers. Check this out. I'm going to click this town center. Look at that. Look at that. One villager queued up in the town center is an extra 1,000 elo. This man is at least 3k. Making sure that he's staying relevant in the game. He's even sending a villager over here. What's he going to do? Is he going to build a market for trade? Another town center? I don't know, but either way, he's not completely dead. This fellow, though, I mean, he has, like, what, one option, which is you take all your villagers and you run and you hide inside Rustic. Alas, though, Moonsorrow, being a pocket Franks, means that he's going to tech into Cavalier totally makes sense, considering that he has all the bonuses for that. The extra 20% HP on your cavalry units makes the Paladin insane because it's so much HP, really leverage that bonus. So, Moonsorrow coming in. Gonna mop up all these villagers. Get the Cavalier upgrade. It's a really nice power spike because the upgrade is so cheap. Researches fairly quickly, and nicer unit that you're just naturally incentivized to mass up in the Castle Age, so get some value out of them. The question always is, do you want to commit to Paladin? Because now that's a large investment. And in general, as the Franks, yes, and it looks like Rustic Septum perhaps caught off guard here. I mean, that's why I just don't like this castle. I mean, ask yourself, is this stone mine worth protecting? No? No, I think that if the castle was here, because he has one over here, if he had that castle here, he would have been fine. So this is just a general PSA for defensive building placement, unless you are, you know, you're up to something. You know, you're a flexor, and you have a specific aggressive strategy in mind. But in general, I like to encourage players to be a little defensive with their building placement before you're really confident that you know what you're doing. Because Purple building the blacksmith and archery range forward here did cost him heavily early game. It did. He still recovered from that immaculately well. And Rustic has been playing well, but you know, we must ask ourselves, how valuable are these castles versus how valuable would they be if they were in the base protecting the things? So it turns out that you need things to win. Now, Mirko doing a great job cleaning up Orange. Orange very far behind, but Orange has 3 town centers. He even built a third one, responding to this very appropriately with defensive units too. When you're on the defensive, what you want to do is focus on your eco, but also make units that can trade 2 for 1, or even better, 1 for 20 with your opponent. Things like mangonels, things like monks, the momentum swing, because you're not going to be able to duke it out with your opponent on even fair terms anymore. You're not going to be able to do that. So, what a monk does is if you convert an elephant, that's a huge swing. It's like you just add an elephant to your army, your opponent lost an elephant, and they spent the money on it, and you didn't spend anything. You spent 100 gold on the monk for sure, but the monk can keep converting things. It's just perpetually generating value. Similarly to how a mangonel can help you defend against mass ranged units when you're just not able to outproduce your opponent because you're behind. Mangonel's the ultimate comeback mechanic, and same thing with things like monks. And the lack of mobility on mangonels and monks are intended to keep them as a generally defensive unit, and also the lack of mobility doesn't matter when you're defending. And Teemo also positioning his buildings very nicely too to just create a makeshift wall. If he's putting down the farms, Moonsorrow's even slinging him. So what this boils down to is a great example of just how to close out a game. I'm very happy with the play here. Indeed, Bearheads, indeed. It's gonna be pretty brutal. I mean, see, Vizzle My Nizzle could maybe they can do something here. Moonsorrow is huge, though. He's like a 500-pound behemoth at this point, and it's gonna take a lot to kill him. I mean, their saving grace is that Rustic lost a town center and like 20 villagers, but Moonsorrow didn't kill him. And I just swear, man, I swear, these barracks make it a castle. Rustic, if I click your town centers and you're not making villages, I'm gonna cry. There will be no tears today. God bless you, Rustic. Good job. You made me very happy, and you made my birthday a little extra special. Those of you watching YouTube, though, it'll probably be a month after my birthday, but the wishes matter all the same. Moonsorrow has turned his attention over to Mirko. Mirko's been having far too good of a game. Just objectively, his game has been too good. He's been making battle elephants, he's been killing people, he's been making farms. The fun has to stop at some point, and the Franks Fun Police are here with 192 HP, maximum upgrades. Mirko thinks he's dead. I would agree with that. And again, I just feel like this forward, I don't see what it accomplishes. Now, what this does is that I understand why he would do this, right? Like, Rustic would do this because he wants to end the game, to close it out, so by applying some offensive pressure. This means that his trebuchets have a point on the map where he can spawn them, and then they have to spend less time walking to be able to start attacking enemy buildings. It makes sense. It gives him a better point to siege from. It also secures this stone mine, which is honestly not that valuable, and it gives him a place where he can spawn Woad Raiders, but like, Woad Raiders are fast enough that, I mean, imagine how well he'd be doing, right, if the castles were in his own base. I'm not saying never drop aggressive castles. I have videos where people drop 4 or 5 aggressive castles, and that's what wins the game. Castle drops have been decisive in so many games that I showcase, but this is not a castle drop. This is an aggressive castle. It doesn't pressure anything directly. It provides a point in which you can pressure, but it doesn't do anything in itself. If the castles were like here, they'd be attacking the town centers, killing the villagers, zoning them off resources, but yeah, it's not like this stone mine was a huge point of contention in this game, so I don't think that any of those with defensive would have helped. Really well played here by Moonsorrow, the Heat, and Teemo, the Swift Scout. Just seriously, they all played a great game. Moonsorrow really carried that one from the pocket, booming up just immaculately well. The Heat, with such a close battle versus See Vizzle My Nizzle, Both of them duking it out. I feel like the Heat reacted very appropriately to all of Seabizzle My Nizzle's choices of units, and likewise Purple responded too in kind of a very well-balanced army that's just difficult to deal with. And, you know, Blue's a little slow to the Castle Age, but in the end, he came out on top there for sure. And that was just great to watch them duke it out on that side. I think they both played very well. On the right side of the map, Teemo the Swift Scout, I think that Mirko really asserted his dominance in that matchup, but Teemo absolutely knew how to play behind. He took all the steps he could to make sure that he didn't die, to give as much room as possible for Moonsorrow to leverage that Paladin upgrade and just mop up the game. And I think that Rustic also, you know, made some decisive plays on this side to make sure that Teemo died and really didn't have much of a chance to get anything out, and that's really important when you're playing against a civ like the Portuguese with insane late game. So he did a great job in that respect too, and he also did a good job defending himself. It's just, I think the castle should have been the base. Welcome to stream 30 Arxa. Hello Dutch class as well. Good to see you. Mama Jamma says, on that note, I'm leaving. Good night, every Western European. Thank you for tuning in, Mama Jumbo. Appreciate it. All right. Let's go check out the achievements. 'Twas a GG. Hope you all enjoyed watching this one. It was a good game. I do want to cast more expert games, though. I understand that there are a lot of people who really like the community games, that community interaction, so I'm still going to be doing community games, but I think I want to mix in more expert games. I do. You know, I would like more recognition as a caster, because I think a lot of people, you know, dismiss these games as, well, you know, there can't be that much educational value in watching players who aren't as good as the Viper. I would disagree. I think you can learn a lot from watching players that are actually relatable to you as well, and it's the commentary that counts. I think that actually seeing players make mistakes and get punished actually can teach you a lot. But likewise, I think watching super good players is also of extreme educational value. They both are, and I want to provide more of a mix of that. You know what really is bothering me right now? Let's leave a comment. For those of you who watch this live or on YouTube, let's leave a comment on the Steam forums about this text right here. Hopefully everyone can see this, because there's nothing that's consistent or centered about this, and this is what basic QA testing should. I mean, if you play the game you're testing at all, right, you would notice this immediately, right? How does that even happen? What kind of spaghetti code base is? See, this is wrong too. What the fuck? That's so weird. That's gonna drive me crazy. Now, this will probably take Skybox like a minute to fix this, but it's gonna take some community pressure. So if you want to make a difference and, you know, leave a legacy behind in this world, leave a comment on Steam and politely ask Skybox to fix the fix the achievements text centering. Is there anything that's entered correctly on the screen? I don't know. I don't know. Now, to be clear, Cheese on Toast does not work for Skybox Slabs, Pete. I think that Cheese on Toast is an excellent QA tester, and I was the only person that recommended him to Forgotten Empires back in the day. And Cheese and I, and Alquilente, and Mars, like, back in the day, we were tackling all these bugs. And I'm so proud of the work that all of us did to make Age of Empires 2 HD Edition a much more polished game. So this is Skybox thing. Good news is this is really easy to fix, though. So together, you and I can change the world. As Matey says, the world will remember us. Andrew Zero says a text misalignment bug has been reported several times in forums. We got to report it again. Bearhead says I think casting more expert games will really help your stream. I agree, Bearheads. I want to do that. I was the first Age of Empires 2 caster on YouTube back in 2009, and I definitely want to cast more expert games. But the thing is you know, the distinction again. I'm always going to keep the chat interaction. That's always important to me. Like, what's the point of streaming? I don't understand streamers who don't read their chat and don't interact with viewers, don't care. Oh, okay, no, I do. It's easier. It's easier to not care. But to me, I think that that's an empty experience and not something that I support. So I'll still be doing community games, but I do think I want to occasionally mix in the more expert games as well. You know, I think that people really enjoy. And by the time you watch this on YouTube, the video will already be out. But that what was that? Doubt versus Vinchester game that I have scheduled to come out like mid-September. That game was sick. I want to do more of those. I think there's a lot you can learn from that. It's also potentially on the to-do list, ADHD is me, but first they gotta fix this game. Andrew Zero says the no MVP award bug has been reported several times as well. I know, right? And internally I've reported these things too, believe me. Some of these bugs may or may not, I can't confirm anything, may or may not have been in the tracker for... well, I'll leave it up to your imagination. However, these are things that, as a community, I think we can make the difference. Now, Skybox doesn't really read much community feedback, but they do read the Steam forums. So as long as we're polite and we make sure that we don't give up, I don't want to live in a world where Age of Empires 2 HD Edition on Steam just doesn't have the MVP ribbon. It just doesn't. And where this is the thing. Production quality. Kirby says, lol, 70% of Polish streamers have their chat both on slow mode and in sub-only mode. I mean, I can understand that. Okay, well, that is the end of the Age of Empires stream for today. Indeed, Malignant Net. This is a long outro because that's all the AoE I'm doing today. I'm debating over whether or not I want to stream a little bit more before I have to go, but I wasn't planning on streaming any AoE today, so this is just for you guys. I think, though, that this is all I'll do for the day, and I'll probably just get ready to go. I mean, I don't know. Let me think about it. I'm going to take a brief break. I might switch games. Maybe you can convince me that I should switch games, but thank you so much for watching the stream so far. This is normally when I'd run a quick ad, but Twitch says I don't get to do that today, so... I'll be back in a minute, and I'll make my decision as to whether or not to switch games or not. Thank you for the support.